I looked for something that would give me meaning in my life and inspire me, basically. So where do you go? You go to Google and you check and you surf until I came across PFP and sort of I'm not too sure whether it was actually it was on Facebook, not Google. And I saw this PFP, people were talking about PFP, and I thought, let me just find out what this is all about. When I read through the survey form that you had to fill in, they said that if you want to be part of PFP, you need to have at least 3 years in the profession, because they didn't want to take anyone who has perhaps a year still in the profession. And I thought, 3 years, the way I feel, if I could leave now, I would. That I need something, to inspire me and get my will to live back, And I thought, what have I got to lose? Let me complete this form, and I sent it away. And then someone came to visit me, and it was actually an ex-colleague of mine, Ernest Moore, and the two of us chatted about it. And he told me what PFP was all about. So I thought, something? This is really worth giving it a shot. It wasn't long when somebody called me to say that they're interested in being a partner. And I thought, oh, well, gee. But remember at that time, my whole being was still, I was anti-everything. And every person and every challenge and everything that came our way, whether it was staff members or family or departmental, anybody who approached me, I saw as an enemy, which is very unlike me, but I just didn't want to deal with life as such. In 2015, my youngest grandchild was born, and he was asphyxiated at birth, and all the challenges, following his birth, which we had to handle. And for me, it was like it was the end of the world. And funny as life is, at the same time, we had whole school evaluation, and everything the people told us, it was a good report, but I felt that they were ripping us to pieces. And I felt it wasn't worth my time anymore and my efforts. And I had spent so many years in the profession. And I'm passionate about my profession. And I needed something or someone to make me believe in the profession again. If you're feeling that you're ready to give up as a human being, as a principal in my case, as a grandmother, I just felt, look, life's not worth living anymore. And then when I got to the PFP and we started, we have this, they call the meetings, we used to have the circle, and we would go and we would have discussions, And for the first couple of circle events that we had, I remember the person, Paul, who was the mentor of the group, I remember afterwards reflecting on everything, him saying to me, I still remember you coming and sitting there with a stern face and with your bag on your lap. And I thought, goodness, it's been so long. And you still remember I came, stern face, bag on my lap, and I was in with the intention of participating because I just wanted to see what this is all about. I thought it's going to take a miracle to get me out of this rut that I'm in. And as time progressed, I realized, and we went to the workshops, the community building, and the first thing that we went to was time to think. And that was the perfect workshop because you had to listen and you had to learn to listen. And I mean, as a principal and as a mother, you are always the one talking, and you had to learn to listen. And it was quite challenging because my partner at that time was from Sanlam. And Mark and I are both talkative people. And we found it so difficult to listen. And we had to listen without interrupting, which was so difficult to do. And at the end of that workshop, that's when I started realizing, this is something that I need, something that is, at that stage I thought, it's not going to make an impact on my school life, but it's going to be good for me. So the first workshop that we went to was Time to Think, and I really enjoyed it. And it made me think, that was the catalyst for making me think deeply about everything. And hence the reason I could go back and I could think about my life and the situation and the problems that I had. And I thought, something? If this could affect me this deeply, this first workshop, then I'm going to try it at school and see how it's going to work. And I started it at school. I asked them to discuss. I can't remember what the incident was, but we were going to discuss, and each one was going to get a turn to speak, and we would all listen without interrupting. Didn't go too well because I don't think anybody wanted to participate because they were interested in going home. So slowly but surely, every meeting and so on, I used all the hints and tips and things that I'd learnt in Time to Think. I also told the staff about PFP because I wanted them to know that I was embarking on this journey and that it was a journey that I'm going to more than likely draw them into, and they would probably be moving along with me. So the staff were very accommodating, funnily enough. So every time I said something or did something, they would say, she heard it at PFP again, I remember this community building workshop where we were told that everybody has a story. So when I came to school and I said to them, look, when you come and talk to me, don't think that I'm going to criticize you or, judge you or anything, because everybody has a story. When it came to things like bullying workshops and that type of thing, they were there. They wanted to know what's happening. They could see the change in me because there was definitely a change in me. I started enjoying the circle. I love the fact that we could share, and it was safe. It was such a safe circle. You could share probably because we were all principals. We had a lot of things in common, and it was a safe space in where we could speak our mind, how we felt, things that we do that make things happen at your school and so on. So we learnt from everyone. And one of the things, seeing that it's Mother's Day on Sunday, we shared, what do you do? What do you do in the morning in your briefing meetings and so on? And we learnt such, wonderful, valuable tips from one another, and that you could bring back to school. And if you needed to, you could incorporate it in your daily school life. And it was such a wonderful experience. And I started looking forward to going to all these circle events. We became like a family, and I started changing the way I, would do things at school. And normally I would compliment kids, and say, oh, you're looking nice today, or I like your hairstyle and so on. So I thought, I should actually do it with the teachers as well, because it's not only the kids who need to be motivated and inspired, but the teachers as well. So I would do that and say, oh, I like your hair, or that outfit suits me, or you look like a lecturer today. So it would rub off, I should actually have checked up on it again. So my partnership with PFP was slightly different to other partnerships. I had one person who was connected to me, and after about 3 months or so, our partnership dissolved, and I asked if I could continue to go to the workshops and the training. So I basically flew solo, and I didn't feel it because I had the support of the circle. And when we went to the training sessions or the workshops, we immediately gravitated towards one another. So I didn't feel left out in any way. And then my partner, on the other hand, the few sessions we had was really amazing. I then realized I wasn't assertive based on the interaction between the two of us. So he taught me to be assertive. I didn't know that after all these years, that you can discover something about yourself. And I discovered at this late stage in my life that I was not assertive enough. As I told you, I do not like being up in front of everything, at the forefront of things, like being behind the scenes. And I like to see both sides of the story, and I like to compromise, and I like to keep people happy, with the result that a lot of the work I shouldered. So if somebody wasn't able to do something, I would do it. And that's the way my career has been thus far. Until Mark taught me to be assertive. He said to me, no way are you going to continue being the person who's going to shoulder all the responsibility. You need to delegate, and this is what you've got to do. He really, shall I put it this way, walk the walk, and he talked the talk. He would, during our sessions, he would get up and he would dramatize, how to handle a situation. We would have scenarios, and he would sort of say, now, this is the way you do it, and you don't give anybody a chance, And I then realized, how different my life could have been or would have been if I had been more assertive. And that's one of the things I've taken from him and started practicing being assertive. And it's actually worked. I thought it was going to turn everything upside down. It actually didn't. People realized, she knows what she's talking about, and, she means what she says, and if she says your due date is your due date, you need to deliver, come hell or high water. Because I used to sit, and if a teacher didn't finish the work, I would sit, even if it's still 7 o'clock at night at school, and I would do the work, and I would get somebody, a willing horse, shouldn't call her that, to assist me. But after that, I said, no, this is your due date. Ensure that you find out how to do it, and you stick to your dates. A lot of things have changed since then. One of the younger teachers I asked, do you have anything to say? Any of you have anything to say, be it positive or negative? And one of the younger teachers, nobody spoke until one of the younger teachers just exploded. And she gave me such an earful. It's never, ever happened to me before. Fortunately, I had time to think. And I stood there and I listened. And I listened and I didn't interrupt. And I let her just go until she saw I'm not responding. She's probably going to stop and see or hear what I have to say. It actually gave me time to listen to what she had to say, but also to concentrate on my response. Now, the old me would have stopped the meeting. I would have apologized to everyone, taken them to my office, would have closed the door, and I would have said to her, let's talk, Because of time to think, I stood there, I could formulate what I was going to say, and very calmly I said to her, oh, you know what teachers do then? Because they were shocked as well. And one teacher says, she doesn't mean it. The other one says, no, she actually means it this way. And this is the way, the meeting went. And afterwards, I calmly just said, you know something? Firstly, I must apologize for not inspiring and motivating you. I'm terribly sorry that I'm such a poor leader. And irrespective of what any of you say, if somebody says something, they mean it. So I don't have a problem with it, because if that's the way you feel, I've got to accept it, and I've got to analyze it and see where I've got to change or what I've got to do, you know. It was the first time that happened and the last time, and that was 2016. And that was the last time it happened. That particular teacher ended up hugging me after the meeting, hugging me and apologizing to me. Inside of me, remember my state of mind then, I felt absolutely nothing. I didn't feel sorry for her. I didn't feel sorry for myself. I just thought, you know, I'll have to hug you and say it's okay, but it was done mechanically. And believe you me, as time progressed, she avoided me. I didn't, because look, I'm principal of the school. I cannot bear grudges. I cannot do anything that would make anybody else feel as if they're worthless. So I greeted her, and, you know, funnily enough, I was the only staff member invited to a wedding. So I went. I thought I shouldn't, but I went, had a good time, and things are just so different between us. And whereas there was this grouping at school before, you know, people tend to group in their, I don't want to say peers, but those they like to associate with. We don't actually have it anymore. So you will find teachers sitting and chatting in the staff room to just about anybody. And they're sharing ideas more readily. We have a teacher who's been diagnosed with breast cancer now. She's been booked off. I could take her class, split them up, because I didn't know how long she was going to be off, split them up and put them 10 pupils in a class, making it 50, 51 in each class, and nobody moaned, nobody groaned. And I said, this is indefinite until we find a way out of this. Nobody moaned. Normally people would say, no, object, and so on. So the relationship between teachers and supporting and helping has improved dramatically. And it is because of, I think, how my leadership has changed, and how I'm managing the staff, basically.